Hey guys, Gypsy here. Thanks for turning in again. You see here I have this water, and you see here this giant mess. So if you guys are curious on what I'm doing with this water, and if I am ever going to clean up this mess again, then stay tuned and you'll find out. See you soon. And we're back, guys. So, today we're actually going to be doing a lot of things. First, we're going to be doing an experiment. This involves cold soaking, and yes, it involves that water. So, here on my little science desk, I have two lovely meals. For this experiment, I have a Mountain House, their breakfast skillet, one of my favorites. Look at all those ingredients. As well as the famous Knorr sides. This one's the creamy chicken flavor. So, yes, I've taken the labels off, or the tops off. If you look in here, it's all still nice and dry. I have not altered it in any way. But instead of heating up water and putting it in there, waiting 5-10 minutes, and enjoying a nice warm meal, instead today we're going to do a test. I am actually going to attempt a cold soak in the bags. Instead of the hefty Ziplocs, we're going to cold soak these guys, and I'm going to time it and see how long it takes for cold water, not hot at all, to cook these guys or rehydrate them enough that you can enjoy them and eat them. So let's start a timer and we will see how long this takes. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to just sit around and wait for that to finish, because that could take anywhere from 15 minutes to half an hour, if not longer. That's what we're finding out today. I do have a timer running, and I'll be checking on it periodically while I'm checking on the food, just to make sure that I don't miss, the time that it's actually cooked. So, cold soaking, for those that don't know, is a way of rehydrating meals without using a stove. So some people will choose cold soaking instead of using a camp stove, or fire, so they don't have to heat up water and don't have to carry the fuel canister or a stove, and they're trying to save some weight. So a lot of people will actually just pretty much at the beginning of their day or at the evening even, they'll put some water into their hefty bags, like a Ziploc bag, kind of like the one right here, or put it right into the food container like I'm attempting to do. And they'll seal it up in some container or seal it up in a Ziploc bag, and they'll just let it sit while they hike or while they're sleeping or while they're doing something else. And then ideally, you can just take out your meal and you can eat it right there. Obviously, the only downside is it's probably going to be cold, and I think it's going to be a little bit less enjoyable overall. Nothing really beats, that nice warm meal at the end of the day or a nice warm oatmeal in the morning. But either way, we're doing the experiment and we're going to test that out. So, I don't know about you guys, but I'm sick of being in this room doing these videos. So, I'm going to finally pack all this stuff up, and we are going to go outside and check out my tents and my sleep system. So I actually have a surprise. Thanks to the comments and thanks to whoever I forgot, I'll have it in here somewhere. But somebody recommended a new tent for me. I was using a Hyke and Byke 2-person tent. Really good tent overall. It was about 3.5 pounds though, very bulky, and it was pretty much the hardest thing to get in my bag. Instead, I actually upgraded to the 6 Moons Design Lunar Solo. This tent was a little bit more expensive. I think it was about $150 more than I spent on the Hyke and Byke, but this thing packs down incredibly small and has a lot less parts. So let me show you what I'm talking about. This is not in the original bag, but this is the Hyke and Byke, I guess, Yosemite 2-person, according to that. So that tent is a 2-part tent. It is the tent, the main body, and the rain fly that goes on top of it. These are the 2 set of tent poles that, collapse and fold out, and those are the tent stakes. All of that is quite a bit of space, and of course some weight. So instead, I switched to this guy, 6 Moves Designs, Lunar Solo. I bought the custom cut Tyvek piece that came as a ground cloth, and there's the stakes. Now, this thing is crazy. All it is a tent. I can collapse this with one hand just about, which means you can compress this sucker down to nothing. So I went from this giant footprint right here and all that weight to about, I think it's 32 or 36 ounces for those that care, as well as the tie-back ground cloth and the tent stakes. So big difference. Sleep system there, sleep system there. So obviously it's awesome to see it, but I think it'd be cool to do a review, set it up for you guys, and show you the difference. So let's go do that now. Alright guys, let's begin this experiment. And also let's see how much of a mess I make. So I have about 4 cups of water here. I'm going to pour it into this Mountain House bag. And look, I already spilled on my phone. And fill her up to probably right about there, right next to the line, so I could hopefully close it still. And for this rice side bag, which I'm expecting to drop, we'll start with that. It's probably about an inch or 2 of water above it. So guys, I'm going to close these up, of course, just to help, but let's start a timer here. Hey, look, it's me. Or a stopwatch, and ready, set, go. Alright guys, we're right at 21 minutes. This is the Nor rice side. Still kind of hydrated, but also still kind of dehydrated. So I can kind of feel it. It's still a little crunchy. This guy though is actually pretty hydrated. The eggs are definitely soft enough to fall apart. I'd say this guy maybe has 5 more minutes left and he'd be done. And my mouth's watering. I might actually eat this before the timer's up. Are you tired of waiting for your meals to cook, whether cold soaking or heating? Well, if so, then go ahead and try yourself a nice snack. Right here, you could have your Cliff Bar, nice and crunchy. This one's crunchy peanut butter. Or instead, you can try this guy. I got this today, and I'm very impressed with these. This was like $2. I don't remember how much this one was, but this nut butter one is a lot more soft and buttery than the basic Cliff Bars. So just a little heads up. I don't know if you guys have tried these yet, but I highly recommend them. They're awesome. Alright guys, just a little checkup here on this food. Mess is still there. There's the rice sides. And here is the Mountain House. I think we're going to try a bite because I can't wait any longer. So, as I expected, the Mountain House is pretty much done. It's as good as it's going to get. There's a slight crunch in the potatoes, like the hash brown part, but it's still 100% edible and enjoyable. It has actually a really good flavor still. The rice size is definitely not done yet. I mean, let's face it, it's just rice. I knew it was going to take a lot longer than the Mountain House would. So we're just going to let that sit for now. It's already, like I said, I'm looking at the clock right now, 35 minutes. Rice sides is still hydrating, and the Mountain House, I'd eat it at this point. Like I said, it tastes pretty good. Everything's soft, eggs were fine, peppers were great, meat was fine. The only thing that was a little crunch to it was the hash browns. So I'm going to leave that test as is. We're going to say that 35 minutes, a Mountain House should be done. Or at least the breakfast adventure meals breakfast skillet is ready to eat cold in about 35 minutes. The Nor rice side, we're just going to let her go. I think when it comes to cold soaking, if I were to do it, the only thing I'd really cold soak would be oatmeal or mashed potatoes, like the instant mashed potatoes. And everything else I'm just going to heat up. Alright guys, tents are finally set up. Here's the Hyke and Byke. This one does have a double vestibule that would be closed. You can access that way. And this is one as well. Here's the zipper for it. I'll leave that one down for now. So if you look inside this tent, absolutely tons and tons and tons of room. This is a 2-person tent, so makes sense, but it is pretty massive in here. There we go. I'm in it right now. Awesome camp shoes. And if you look, this is me sitting up. Plenty of room. Lots of awesome hooks to hang stuff. It does have a little compartment holder doodah. And I mean, if you just look at the space, again, I'm about 5'10", give or take. This is me laying down. Look at all that space. So you can stretch out my whole hand. Plenty of space for people or gear or what have you. This vestibule I have plenty of room, and this one as well. And of course this would close, giving you double secured vestibules with great place to put your shoes or your gear, or even you can cook right here in the stove with a stove and have a nice view or be blocked. And you know, definitely a very generous size tent. But like I said, sadly it is about 3.5 pounds, and it does come in 2 pieces. So you have the tent body itself, which is 1 piece, and then the green and white on my tent, which is the rain tarp, whatever. So awesome tent, but I found a better solution with my new tent, and we're gonna go look at that next. This one is quite different. Only has the one-sided vestibule. And like I said, this is a trekker pole tent. You can buy an option for it though, where they send you a little tent pole that collapses like a normal tent would have, but I'm using my trekker pole. This tent, as you saw in the video, definitely was a learning curve for me to set up. That was actually my first time setting it up, so bear with me here. So far though, I do love this tent. I love the screen all the way around. I think that's going to help a lot with airflow. And in here as well, I have my sleeping system to show you guys. So we'll start off up front. This is my fleece down little blanket. It is a Horizon Hound Trek blanket. This thing weighs, I think, under a pound. Super lightweight. This thing is still lofting up, so it actually compresses tiny, tiny, tiny. I used this sleeping in my truck camper the other night, and it was about 40 degrees according to my phone, and I could see my breath, and it was cold, but underneath this blanket somehow I was actually warm. I was kind of doubtful on this blanket when I got it. I was worried I'd have to buy a new one, but it actually worked fine. So again, the Horizon Hound Trek blanket. I'll have links in my description, of course. So just a simple blanket. It does button up, these little snappy snaps, but it does not zip, and it does not have a foot box. So I'm sure that's going to be a debating factor for some of you guys. As a backup though, I did buy this little Magellan polyester sleeping bag liner. It doesn't weigh a thing really. I figured I could use this to make myself a sleeping bag and pretty much stick this blanket in my liner if I got really cold. So we'll see if I end up using this, or I can always dump it. But yeah. So moving on, this is my inflatable sleeping pad. It is from the brand Sleep and Go. Also very lightweight. I believe it came in at maybe just over a pound. Here's its tiny stuff sack for it. and super comfy. I have used this before. I do like it. So I guess everything is green, but you know, I'm not surprised. So got my camping quilt, blanket, the air mattress, blow up mattress, whatever, and the tent. So I'll show you a size comparison. This is me in the tent, and there is still quite a bit of room. These tents actually have a vented spot, so it's made to put gear and stuff right here next to you. But I'm sure you could squeeze 2 people in here pretty fine. And there is plenty of room to sit up. So I'm sitting up right now, and I still have about a foot to my head. So overall, I think this tent will be a huge upgrade. It is not perfectly set up, as you can tell. I don't have the slopes quite right, so it is a little flappy, but this does get stretched out. You can tighten this up and make it with nice slopes coming down. But for this video and this purpose, I just set it up to show you guys. So again, that's the 2 tents. Again, the Hyke and Byke 2-person Yosemite and the 6 Moons Design Lunar Solo. So the Hyke and Byke I bought for about 120 bucks. The 6 Moons Design Lunar Solo was about 270 all said and done. So big price difference, but definitely a huge difference in weight and packability.